Now I want you to notice in John 3 what happens as this text opens, starting in verse 25. So there arose a dispute between some of John's disciples and the Jews about purification. And they came to John and said to him, Rabbi, he who was with you beyond the Jordan, to whom you have testified, behold, he is baptizing, and all are coming to him. Now, let's put that in our terms. You know, you're losing friends. You're losing people to follow you. You're losing people. You got to do something to fix this. Don't you realize that there's another guy out there who is doing the same thing you're doing, and they're going to him? They're not coming to you. What's the problem? You can just see the disciples of John upset about that. They wanted John to feel wounded by what Jesus was doing. That's what they wanted. But John could have taken that temptation. He could have played the victim. Now, you think about a time maybe you've been in that situation. I've had a couple of them. I've had a couple of them where I had to work through it and think, okay, I can handle this. Maybe the challenge is, maybe I'm not what I used to be. Maybe I don't have the following that I used to have. Maybe people don't listen to me like they used to. And I could play the victim, and you probably have that as well. It's probably a human reaction because we want to think we still have value, we still have worth, and the people who are with us and who are around us and support us and follow us, sometimes that's how we get our worth. But he didn't do that. John didn't do that. Now, his disciples were already caught up in it. They had already decided that John is being wounded and we're going to support him. We're going to figure out a way to fix this situation. The wounds of a friend are faithful. John didn't feel like he'd been wounded. But even if he had been, even if he felt like he was, I think it is the concept of friendship that gets him through it, just like it did with you or it did with me. I recall some years ago when I received a message from our shepherds. And the message was, so-and-so said it's time for you to be fired. And I thought, Now, this was my friend. Said, well, okay. Now, what's the first thing you're going to do? What did I do wrong? What's going on here? What do you mean? So I had to work through that. And then I found out the reasoning behind that statement. And I said, okay, let's do this. So I set up a meeting and I said, let's talk. I said, we've been friends a long time. And if that's how you feel, that's okay. I mean, I can't expect everybody to like me all the time. So if that's how you feel, that's fine. But you're basing this on this information. Now, this information is wrong. I tell people all the time when I'm talking to them in a difficult situation, remember that everybody's feelings are real to them. If you feel something, it's real to you, right? I mean, it really is. You feel it, and therefore it's real because you feel it. Now, it may not in actuality be true. You can feel something that's not true. So the feeling is one thing, and you need to grant people the right to feel a certain way. But then you can investigate the facts, and you can say, is this feeling accurate or is it not? And that's the way to handle controversy with people. So I said, let's look at the facts. Here are the facts that you see. Let me tell you what the facts are. This person sat back and said, I didn't know that. I'm still there. He's still my friend. No problem. Get in a situation with a friend, and inevitably something's going to happen. Sooner or later, something's going to happen, and you can either decide that you're going to be a victim and pout and sit off in the corner, or you're going to say, now wait a minute. Let's see if we can fix this. Well, let's see what John did. Let's start in verse 27. I noticed this morning, if you have an outline, you're going to look and say, he didn't go in the right order. Well, I realized after I printed it, I wrote it wrong. So you just follow me instead of the outline. All right? Verse 27. John answered and said, a man can receive nothing unless it has been given to him from heaven. What did John say? He said, God has a plan for both of us. You're trying to say that I am being dismissed. You're trying to say that I'm being shoved off to the side. You're trying to say, wait a minute, everybody's going after him. And John didn't take the bait. He said, wait a minute. God has a plan for everybody. I think what he's telling his disciples is, that man, he's got a plan. But he also has a plan for me. Don't take the bait. When others try to say, do you know what your friend said about you? Do you know what? Don't take the bait. You yourselves bear me witness that I said, I am not the Christ, but I have been sent before him. John said, God had a plan for him, and he had a plan for me, and my job was to prepare the way for him. What was John saying? I'm supporting him. We have a teamwork here. You need to understand, I get it. We are in a teamwork situation. The other place that I had preached before coming here, only been two. We had a situation where two people were hired to work together in a situation. And one of them just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. The teamwork wasn't happening. And it made things difficult. Well, John said, wait a minute. I want God's will for me to happen. He sent me ahead of him. And I want God's will for him to happen. He's doing what I was sent ahead to prepare him to do. When you hear that, when you get tempted to play the victim, if you're going to be a real friend, you need to back up and say, wait a minute. I want both of us to be successful. God's got a plan for you. He's got a plan for me. He who has the bride is the bridegroom. The friend of the bridegroom isn't going to be upset that the groom is marrying the bride. Not a real friend. Oh, they have those television shows that sometimes show stuff other than that, don't they? But not a real friend. John said, here's the deal. I'm on his side. I want him to do well. I am happy that he is in this situation. I'm not there. Mine is different. My job is different from his. He's given us both a job. My job prepares the way, and mine is different from his. Friends need to realize that we can be in the same situation, working together, and be different and get different feedback because of our different works. The friend of the bridegroom who stands and hears him rejoices greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. Therefore, this joy of mine is fulfilled. Not only that, John said, I am happy. I am rejoicing that he is being honored with this work. I am excited about it. You ever had the temptation, at least for a minute, just popped into your head? Your friend got this big promotion, and you go, why not me? Your friend was given this great big honor. Why not me? When Jesus, through Paul, wrote in Romans, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. We don't have problem weeping with people who weep, do we? It's easy. We can sit, hug each other, cry, and talk. But we have a little bit harder time rejoicing with them when something good happens to them, but something good hasn't happened to me. And I might be tempted to be a little jealous. But John wasn't. John said, this doesn't bother me at all. I'm happy for him. Then notice the next phrase. He must increase, but I must decrease. Humble. Humble. John recognized that things were changing, but he didn't mind taking a back seat. He didn't mind that his friend was being honored in ways that he had been, but may not any longer be. That's how life is, isn't it? We move on through life, and the next one comes along. You know, I love how the Ecclesiastes writer says it when he talks about how you move on through life and then you're forgotten. Have you ever, somebody asked me one time, what's your greatest fear? And my greatest fear is being forgotten. I love people. And one of the greatest things I like is I don't want to be forgotten. And I hate it when I forget people. We have to be willing to say, life moves on. And in moving on, if my friend is getting something better than I'm getting, maybe it's just his turn. And that's okay. You know why? Because we're a team. I'm standing behind him. And that's what John did. Let's talk about teamwork for a few minutes. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Now, am I supposed to quit at 15 after? Do I have to? Okay, just checking.
You're our friend. You're our friend.
Give that man a gold star, man, when you're listening and apply the lesson right there in the moment. Gold star time. Okay. Now, I want to make sure, I'm really big on these kinds of situations where I can learn from somebody else. And what I want to know is, this idea that I'm presenting about having a hard time rejoicing, maybe with those who rejoice, at least a harder time than weeping with. Does that make sense to you? Why do you think that is? Why is it that we have a harder time rejoicing than we do weeping? Pride? Probably true. What else? Any other thoughts on that? Rejoicing, weeping. I think you've hit on something, because here's what I think is going on. I think when I'm weeping with someone, I'm in a better place than they are. I'm weeping with them. And we could try it right now if you want. We could weep with her. Here's the point. When I'm weeping with someone, I can sort of be proud that I'm there helping somebody. But when I'm rejoicing with someone, things have switched. It's not me and this person in need. Now it's this person, and here I am. I think maybe that's one of those things that happens amongst us as Christians that we really have to be careful about. Because if I hear that so-and-so, the other day someone asked me, said, who is that guy that drives that Corvette to church? I said, well, it's so-and-so, Dave. And man, he's a tremendous guy. What did he do in life? I said, well, he retired from Lexmark. Well, maybe I took the wrong path in life. I'm thinking, but aren't you glad that he got the Corvette? Why can't you be? Years ago, one of our members who passed on a couple of years ago did get the brand new Corvette. And called me one day and he said, come out here and see my new Vet that I got. I said, okay. And he said, how about see how it feels? And I sat in under the wheel and I thought, this is nice. That Corvette sort of hugged you. Seat and everything. He said, why don't you drive it? Oh, no, I'm not driving it. Start it up, you're driving it. Carefully. Then I eased it out on the road. And then I got out on Barnes Mill Road back before they did any of that construction out there. And I'm just easing into traffic. And we started going. And he said, punch it. I said, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I said, punch it. And when I did, that seat really hugged me because it just pushed me right back. And I'm just hanging on thinking, oh, please don't wreck this car. But not one time was I upset that he had a Corvette. Now that's easy because I don't want a Corvette. So I didn't have any problem. But if I had wanted a Corvette and I didn't get one and he has a Corvette and he got one, maybe I would have trouble. If you want to be a friend, you got to learn to let other people be honored. Move maybe into the place where you were as you're moving out. That's what a real friend is. Talk about teamwork. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, starting in verse number 9. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. Let's talk about teamwork for a minute. Teamwork, when I was thinking about it through Scripture, teamwork was always in the plan of God. Always. From the very beginning. It is not good that a man should be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. Now, you could say, it is just not good for men to be alone because they just get in trouble. So God put us here to take care of them. Maybe that's true. But I think he's talking about teamwork. I think he is saying, I made a man, now I need a woman, and now we got a team. That's a team that works. Or should work, can work. God's plan is that it works. From the very beginning, God wanted a team. Go back and read Nehemiah sometime. In fact, read Nehemiah 3 if you've never read it before. Nehemiah 3 is fascinating. All it does, I used to think, there's not much in that chapter. But I've totally flipped. I've preached on it many times. Chapter 3, all he does is list the people who are working on building the wall. That's all it is. But if you go down through that list, you know what you're going to find? Here is teamwork. They're building a wall. Guess who was building the wall? The jewelers. What does a jeweler know about building a wall? It says, and even the daughters. And you might think, they put the girls to work building a wall? Well, sure. And it said, and the leaders. Everybody was building the walls. Teamwork. And in Nehemiah 9 and verse 8, that's what Nehemiah said. You work together. In Matthew 26, Jesus called Peter, James, and John off to the side in the garden. You remember when he was praying. He had done that before. There's something about their connection that made them a team in that moment. Or how about Luke 13 and verse 1, or chapter 10 and verse 1, when Jesus sent out the 70 on what we call the limited commission, 2 by 2, teamwork. And in Acts 13, the Spirit said, set out Barnabas and Saul for me. I have a job for them to do. That's exactly what happened with Jesus and John. God called a team. He had one to go ahead, one to come behind. God is in favor of teamwork. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, when he described the church, and he talked about in the church, like in the human body, you have eyes, you have feet, you have a nose, you have a mouth, you have hands. That's what you have in the church. One of our ladies, many years ago, had cancer and lost an eye. 2 weeks ago, they had to take out the other eye. Totally blind. Now, none of us wants that. And yet at the same time, while not wanting that, because there's something wrong, we see the evidence of a teamwork like you've never seen before. That husband and wife, man, she smiles all the time, and he's got a hold of her, and he'll tell her who's coming up, and she talks to everybody. And when he had to go to work and there was no family around, our people went over and sat with her and talked with her. Teamwork. I think that's what God was talking about in 1 Corinthians 12. Look what he says. 2 are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, One will lift up his companion, but woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Again, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Number one, teamwork provides a reward. There's a reward for teamwork. Now, I have coached for many years. I coached basketball. And one of the things that I noticed, especially in the last 2 or 3 years that I coached, there's this one guy who was trying to just take over, you know? And now, what you have to do in those situations is you just got to sit him down. One coach said one time, what's the greatest friend of any coach on basketball? You know what that is? Huh? That's it, the bench. That's the greatest friend that a coach has. You say, come here. You sit right here. Because see, we have a team. And you, by yourself, are not the team. You sit right here. And when you're ready to play team ball, you can go back in. There is a reward for being a team. They have good reward for their labor. Something good happens when the team does something together. I love it when they interview players after wins and the players talk about the team. I love that. Because the awards and the honors aren't that way. The Heisman Trophy will never go to an offensive guard on the line. Right? Never going to happen. Not going to happen. Why? Well, let's do this. Let's just take the guards out and let that quarterback who got the Heisman, let him play without 2 guards up in front of him. Is he going to get the Heisman? Nope, not going to happen. He's going to be rewarded, but it's the guards up front, the tackles up front, the people who are blocking for him. They helped him get the Heisman. So where is the reward? Like John and Jesus, that offensive line can look at their quarterback who got the Heisman Trophy and go, that's great. We were a part of that. We created a situation where he could perform, and they had a part of that work. John, though decreasing while Jesus was increasing, he said, I have a part in that work. And no matter how much he increases, that doesn't mean I've not had any part at all. I'm a part of that. There is great reward because they'll lift up when they fall. How terrible it is to be alone. You got no one to call, no one to help, no one cares. But not only is there reward, there is also relief. They'll help you get up. They'll help you stay warm. They'll help you when you're being overpowered. The relief of teamwork comes because when I am weak, somebody is there to pick me up. James said in James 5, whoever brings back a sinner from the error of his ways has saved a soul from death and hidden a multitude of sins. We've helped somebody. We've helped somebody come back from where they were. These are people who are weak. And teamwork makes a weak person strong. I'm thinking about the story told of the elephant with his friend the flea. And the flea lived in the elephant's ear. And they were good buddies. And the flea would talk to him in his ear. And the elephant would respond. And one day, they were walking across a bridge, and man, that thing was shaking and moving and a little bit scary. And when they got to the other side, the flea said, "Did you see what we did to that bridge?" Now, technically, flea, you didn't do anything. But he's part of the team because they were friends. They work together. The weak become strong because of the teamwork. When I'm in trouble, someone can come to my rescue. When I need something, someone comes to my rescue. If we have a team, then we're there. Just like our lady who's lost her eye. Being by herself is okay for just a little while. But to spend all day by herself wasn't going to work. Come to the rescue. That's what Jesus expects us as a team to do. To reach out to those who are in trouble. To reach out to those who are weak. To help bear the burdens, Galatians chapter 6. Because they're in trouble. And I want to rescue them. It is teamwork that will bring somebody, one of our sheep that goes astray. It'll be teamwork that'll bring them back. If we care enough to go and do that. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. He's simply saying, take a piece of string or a yarn or whatever, and you can break it, and put two together and it's a little tough, and you put three together and wrap it and it's just tough to cut. Either one of those cords by itself is not very strong. But when you put them together, you got teamwork. Now here's my question that I'd like to hear from you in closing. How do we develop teamwork in a local congregation? What do we need to do to make the local congregation a team? What do you think? By the way, when I teach class, silence does not bother me. I'll stand here for the next 4 minutes. Encourage involvement. How are you going to do that? Ask them to be a part. That's a great way. You know, sometimes we sit back and we go, here's everything we're doing. Now, if you want to volunteer, let us know. Or, what if you know certain talents that somebody has? And you say, here is something I think you can do. We have a fellow who is sort of a special needs. But he wants to do so much, and it's very difficult. So I said, he's a great Bible student. Tell you what, I got you a job. Oh, good, what? How about I tell you what I'm going to preach on, and you research it for me? Well, he loves it. He loves it. What if I had just stood back and said, anybody want to help? Let me know. Probably wouldn't get any. Encourage involvement by walking up and saying, why don't you do this? Now, that's important with talents. Our ladies, for I think it's 45 years, have made handmade bears for the emergency room. Policemen carry them in their trunks when children are involved, and they hand them one. We just got a picture of two little girls that went to the ER this past week and got two of our bears, and they were hugging them, and the parents wanted us to see it. Well, they'd been doing this, like I said, for 45 years. And I was out there one day, they were stuffing those bears, and I said, I think as a preacher, I need to know what y'all are doing. I'm going to sit out here and stuff a bear. And they said, well, here's what you do. And so I picked up that bear, and I'm stuffing it, and when it's all finished, I held it up, and they said, you will never stuff another one. And I said, why not? Because your bear looks like it's full of tumors. Well, when these ladies finish them, they are beautiful, and they are smooth, and they are tight. And they said, you're not doing another one. See, encourage involvement, but put them in a place that works for them. I'm not a bear stuffer. And we need to do that. We need to make sure we're not stuffing bears when we ought to be digging ditches. There's a difference. Anything else? What else would you say to say, how do we develop teamwork in the church? Got another idea? Come on. Stand behind them. Now, do you mean stand behind and push? You go. Encouragement. Nothing does better than a word of encouragement. In other words, we really will develop teamwork if we get in the habit of encouraging someone every time they do something. When you reach out, they're going to do twice as much next time, because we all want to be appreciated. We all want to know that somebody has noticed us. We all want to feel worthy and valuable. If you want to be a friend, here's our question, our statement for today. If you want to be a friend like John the Baptizer, you need to stand behind your friend. Support, back, encourage, help, and if that friend is honored, be excited. If that friend is in trouble, rescue them and pick them up. And friendship will last forever. I decided I would quit it. 10:15. But I know I appreciate that, but it's not all my choice. No, y'all wouldn't talk, so part of it's you.